I used to think that I'd finally be happy when residency was over. Once the call shifts were over, once I got some sleep, once I made it. But the truth is, those hard days never really go away. You just learn how to see them differently. One morning, I got off a 24-hour call shift, and I was exhausted. Can't think, can't feel exhausted. But I just sat in my car and watched the sunrise, and for some reason, that was the first time I just felt grateful. Not because the day was easy, but really just because I was still standing. Up until this point, starting off residency as an intern is hard, universally, for everyone. And I remember you spend a lot of time trying to figure out where you fit in with the team, where your input is valuable, and where you fit in socially within the residency. And I had particular trouble figuring that out, arguably the whole time I was there. And so it's hard for me to find times to feel grateful or feel like there was a sense of hope. But this morning, for some reason, when I just took a moment to open my eyes and see what was around me, I got to realize that God was actually doing something in me that wasn't rooted in some cliche sense of success, but to a degree rooted in a sense of survival. And that survival spoke a lot about who I was at that point, in spite of everything that was surrounding me. My patients were alive, they were doing well, charts were closed, and I made it. What I realized is that joy is not waiting for me at the finish line. It was in those little moments that I didn't really take note of. Times when those patients said, "Thank you for being my doctor, thank you for taking care of me." Those times where I would laugh with my co-residents, even those quiet rides home. Joy isn't really about life getting easier. It's more so about when your eyes get wiser. You start to see things completely different. When you go through things, there's a means to an end. And so you're less likely to get wrapped up in the details of the current. When you wait for a perfect season to feel joy, you miss the opportunities that are right in front of you. There's so many days I wasted just going home upset about how someone talked to me, which I think is extremely reasonable to be upset about. But I ignored the fact that I was able to diagnose someone properly, or I ignored the fact that I was able to get that question right on rounds, or I ignored the fact that in that surgery, no one had any reason to complain about what I did in the case, which all spoke to the progress I had made. Another thing about joy is that it does not depend on anyone around you. To a degree, it's a choice, and I believe partially it's a gift. And so what I mean by that is you can choose joy on a daily basis. You can look at your adversity, you can look at the coming resistance, and you can say, I'm going to gladly take this on today. And I'm going to trust that God is going to help me through it. I'm going to trust that God put me here because I am capable to get through it. And when I started to feed myself those words and that mentality, every moment, both positive and negative, became beneficial. In the midst of those days where maybe your attending had a hard day at home, or maybe had difficulty with a patient or a case, or is facing some type of stress that you're not aware of, the reality is that they're human, and that sometimes they take that out on you. The challenge is not taking it personal, or rather not letting it personally affect you in performing in the way that you've been destined to be successful. I just know I've wasted too much time on the other side of this, so I want to share my experience with you so you didn't have to go through it. So if you're in a hard season right now, don't wait for joy to show up. Look for it. It's already hiding somewhere in your day.